Hey Jay, can I ask you a question?
Sure, Mark. Far away.
How come Carter's always sliding around in Deep Blue Sea?
Wow.
And how come Preacher has a bird in the kitchen?
I think...
Should Janice have won an Oscar for all that exposition?
Yeah, I
Who
mean...
did the sharks hate the most? How far did Jim travel underwater?
About...
Why do they keep calling Brenda Tower?
Mark, please, we've already covered all of these topics and many, many more on Deep Blue Sea, the podcast.
You mean the podcast where we analyze Renny Harlin's 1999 masterpiece, Deep Blue Sea, chapter by chapter?
Exactly! Find it everywhere podcasts can be found.
Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man that when he's in New York, he's frank, and when he's in Chicago, he's earnest. It's Kiyon.
What up, what up, what up? Thank you for having me again. What's going on, people?
No, after the success of the Blade 2 and Villainess episodes, I'm like, I gotta bring back Kiyon here to talk about some Long Kiss Goodnight, because we love this movie.
That is so what's up. Shout out to all the people out there listening. That's like so super dope. And yeah, I appreciate it, man. I love talking movies with you. It's fun. It's fun times, good times. You know what I mean?
I like the funkiness of our picks. I mean, we didn't opt for Blade. We went for Blade 2.
Yes.
And then we went straight to the Villainess, which you recommended, and I'm very happy I watched, and I've been preaching about it everywhere I go. And now the Long Kiss Goodnight. And I'm going to say something crazy here, right? Mm-hmm. Renny Harlin has made some excellent action films. You know, I've dedicated an entire podcast to Deep Blue Sea. So we do the Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. Yes. I'm
very familiar with that.
Oh, I love it. And it's doing really well. And I've long talked about Cliffhanger. I've talked about, we just recorded for, Nightmare on Elm Street 4. We've talked about
Die
Hard 2. And just his, his latest stuff, Devil's Pass or Skip Trace, I've enjoyed. I've really just enjoyed Driven, we recorded an episode about. I'm really trying to cover every Renny Harlin film. And what I think, though, about this movie, the 1996, The Long Kiss Goodnight, written by Shane Black of Lethal Weapon, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, The Nice Guys.
Shane Black, yes.
I think it's his most underappreciated film.
Yes. It's, you know what? It's like one of my, honestly, it's like my top 5 kind of 90s action films, and I feel like it is such an underappreciated gem. It's so underrated in terms of just the amount of action, and not for nothing, like friggin' Geena Davis, she like jumped it off. She's like she was the building block for the Charlize Therons of the freaking, world. So like she don't get enough recognition for how badass she was in that role as well.
And it bums me out, too, because a lot of people point to the failure of Cutthroat Island as something that kept people away. And listen, if you haven't read about Cutthroat Island, watch it, because every dime you see on screen, it's insane. And Carolico was doing it, and money got out of hand, and they had other investors, and it was just a total shit show. And Harlin even says that he and Davis were like, please let us out of this. Please let us out. And they made it. But I think a lot of movies nowadays, man, for better or worse, are a product of expectations and momentum. So they had made one of the biggest box office bombs of all time. Shane Black wasn't exactly hot after Last Action Hero and a few of those movies. So you have this excellent movie, but you have people coming from not so successful films. Like Shane Black is getting paid too much to make these movies. He got $4 million for this script. There's a lot of bad buzz. Then you had all the bad buzz about, Long Kiss Goodnight. And so when this comes out, R-rated, bloody, nasty, funny, compelling, dramatic, with rich characters.
And a super different look on Geena Davis than we've seen up until that point.
She's such a badass. And I love, too, with Renny Harlin, where... All right, first, I love all the different aspects of this movie where they're ice skating in the beginning, right? And the daughter falls and she gives her the speech, and then the daughter gives her the speech later. Then there's the ice skating chase. Like, this movie has a ton of Chekhov's ice skates, Chekhov's anything you can think of matches. I just love this movie. That's a tight script. It's very 1990s, right? There are a few moments where you're just like, ooh. But you do understand, man. Sam Jackson, right? He said that this was his favorite role ever. Like, he said Mitch Hennessy is his favorite character. He said he loved making this movie with Geena Davis. And do you want to hear the rest of his favorites, or did you already research those?
No, tell me.
Yeah, so he said Nick Fury was 5 because he was just promoting his movie. But then he combined, number 4 was his Tarantino roles.
Okay.
Number 3 was Mace Windu.
Okay. Which
is interesting. I mean, he loves his purple lightsaber in that movie.
Yeah,
he adores his time.
Very fond of that purple lightsaber.
He adores his time on that movie. He skipped number 2 because he was so excited. He's like, I just want to get to 1. And he just said The Long Kiss Goodnight. He's like, I loved working with Geena Davis. The character, man. Like, he gives the toys to his kid, and his kid's like, did you steal these? It's interesting how, he told the story about, you thought that maybe he was blackmailed, but he actually did steal the stuff, and he went to jail. Yeah. And he's kind of this dirtbag who hires homeless people with food to get money from people, with his assistant helping him to get money. He's kind of but he also becomes the moral compass of this movie. He's telling Geena Davis to call her daughter, and
and I think that's what makes his character so likable, even though he's essentially a scumbag in the beginning. He is as much of the scumbag as he is the moral kind of high ground for Geena Davis once she becomes Charlie. Once she turns, or I guess I should say turns, but becomes herself again, he's the one that's like you said, telling her, call your daughter, and like, why are you dressed like that? And like, he's like, aren't you a mother? Like, he's pointing out all these things to her to remind her of who she, who a part of her is. I don't want to say who she was, because that is a part of her character, and that was a part of her growth, which was such a dope, like, that you don't really see that in especially 90s action movies. You don't see character growth and development like they put in this movie.
I mean, look at like Eraser and these kind of, it's just action dudes being action dudes.
Seriously, like if you literally think about all the big action movies of the 90s, right? It was about the action. It wasn't so much about, character growth and development, or, a really, like the story of The Long Kiss Goodnight was very intricate, with the whole spy thing and the spy angle, but the super covert, I said COVID. Oh my God. The super covert black ops underground spy network that she's a part of, but she doesn't know, but all these people do know. And, the people that do know have been watching her, but she doesn't know until she knows. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it was very like Christopher Nolan before Christopher Nolan for Renny Harlin. You know what I mean? I feel like this is one of his best movies, in my opinion.
And I love this quote by Shane Black. He said, "What I wanted to do is not be afraid to give a woman character as serious a role as I would a man character. The temptation is to keep a woman soft and fluffy." This is Shane Black in 96. He's like, "I also wanted to do a story about a mother and a daughter, about a woman who uses her skills as a professional killer and mother to protect her child." And this role is even harder for Geena Davis because, I mean, in a lot of movies, right, you have the man in Commando, you have Arnold Schwarzenegger getting his daughter back. You have Stallone getting his daughter back. I just want my daughter back. I just want my family back. And it's just...
And they'll blow up anything to do it.
Exactly.
Damn it.
And she does the same here. And I guess what I like is that it's a tougher role for her because there's two sides of her personality. So remember when Sam Jackson said that the reason you like Samantha Cain, your character, because you didn't hate yourself for that long. And her cover story was to be a teacher and this, that, and the other. So that must have been in her subconscious. So then you have this hit person who's an absolute badass, but then you have this Samantha Cain who's married, living a domestic life, loves her daughter. And so you have these two dueling identities in one movie. When you think about Bourne Identity, right? Bourne was just some dude who forgot his memories and then he just came back and killed everybody. He didn't have the dueling ideologies to battle with. And that's what makes this once again even more impressive, her role and her performance. So it's like a 3-part. At first it's Samantha, then it's Charlie, and then it's a combination of both in the end.
Yeah, exactly. And what I can appreciate too is that, there was no fridging, involved or necessary.
Yes.
Of any characters. Like, the husband didn't have to die for her to go on this like terrible, revenge rampage or whatever. It was, and I like the fact that it was all these little situations that just kept happening one after another that kept you in the movie. Like the pacing was kind of perfect. It wasn't too fast. It wasn't too slow. You know what I mean? And then as you're watching it, it's like these little things that keep happening that make her character develop more. And then when she starts to remember who Charlie was, when they get to the hotel and then she's like in the shower, she cuts her hair, she dyes it, and then she's Charlie again. Like to see that growth from this, homemaking, school teaching, Mrs. Claus in the Christmas parade to badass assassin. Like that, the way she pulled that off was just like top notch acting. It was like, it was acting 101. Like seriously, man, I cannot say enough. And like you said,
it's annoying
unfortunately,
because this movie's so good, and then people don't know that much about it, and you're like, guys,
it is, and it's so sad that the movie that I honestly, it's so funny. It's like the thing that I equate with Geena Davis outside of Long Kiss Goodnight is that damn pirate movie. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? And it sucks because I don't even know why I equate with that movie. Like, outside of Long Kiss Goodnight, the thing, like, and she's done a lot of other shit. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. She's
done a lot of other work. And for whatever reason, that movie left such a blemish on her career for whatever reason in some ways. And some ways it didn't. And I would say in terms of her movie career, I feel like that movie, that role, like kind of deaded it. It like ended her movie career, but she did a lot of television and she did a lot of, other, so but it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see her, in the movies more.
Yeah. What stinks too is because Cutthroat Island comes out. It's $100+ million movie with a female lead in 95. That never happens, right?
Yeah.
That never happens. And it was a total debacle behind the scenes. And so it didn't work. And it's just weird how you think about some of Stallone's movies that have sucked. Some of Schwarzenegger's movies that have sucked, JCVD's movies that have sucked, and they keep getting a second chance.
Of course. They get second, third, fourth, fifth chances.
And
they get direct to DVD chances. You know what I mean?
These movies, man, I'm telling you, it just doesn't matter. Like, that's why I love watching some of the Korean films. You have fresh faces on screen. That's why I love the Long Kiss Goodnight. You know what I like is Sam Jackson's character in this. I think he's such a selfless actor. I really do, because normally it's the damsel in distress. In this movie, it's I'm going to quote him. It's the mother effer in distress.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, he's the one that's saying to her, "You got to save me."
And constantly.
Give me something different, man. Give me the villainess. Give me widows. Give me I don't know. Just give me something that's not right.
But you know what that is, though. I'm gonna tell you exactly what that is. That is, something that, for whatever reason, Hollywood is afraid of, and that's a strong female, like, lead. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, for whatever reason, Hollywood is afraid to write strong, nuanced female leads that, don't have to be motivated in the same ways, that, male action leads are written, and I feel like this was a glimpse into that. Villainous is a glimpse into that, and to see what's possible when you have, some good writing, some good action, and just good actors. This is what you get. You know what I mean? And like Long Kiss Goodnight essentially is a testament to that. It's akin to like Ghost in the Shell. When the first time I saw Ghost in the Shell, the anime, that was for me, like, I think the first time I watched an anime with a female lead that was like the badass, like that was, and I was pretty much into just Dragon Ball back then at that time. You know what I mean? So Ghost in the Shell was that first look for me into like, oh shit, this is what a dope ass, like, strong female lead can be. Oh, I want to see more of this. So when it's done and it's done well, oh, this is what you get. You get, a Long Kiss Goodnight.
And I think it's funny. You have directors like James Cameron, who he directed Terminator and then Terminator 2, and he took over for Aliens, and he had such strong characters in that. And even the Resident Evil franchise, which is maligned, but I adore it. I mean, you have Mila Jovovich as the lead, and the last one made $350 million worldwide.